welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down this 10-game MLB DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. We got a nice day baseball slate, Sunday baseball coming ahead. Always excited to break it down. Before I do, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. That would be greatly appreciated. That way you don't miss any future content that I upload. I'll be here all MLB DFS season long, breaking down these MLB DFS slates to help you guys become better MLB DFS players. Help you guys win some money night in and night out. If that's something you enjoy, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It does greatly help me out. And don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my home run call of the day on an absolute roll with those. Nailing it again last night. Going with Mitch Moreland, going deep at low ownership. Always love to see that. So let's keep it rolling. Let's get into the breakdown. And as always, if you are interested in getting very serious about a profitable MLB DFS bankroll, I would highly recommend my MLB DFS premium package. That's linked below in the description. You get access to all the same tools that I use when building my own MLB DFS lineups, things like my starting pitcher data sheet, high hitter StatCast data, splits leaderboard, team hitting data, bullpen data, power rankings, and cheat sheet. With that being said, let's go ahead and break down this slate today. As always, I'd like to go ahead and short my sheet by K-rate. It's fantasy sports. We get points for strikeouts, and the top guy on the slate today is going to be Elijah Hernandez, taking on the Chicago Cubs. Keep in mind, we only are dealing with a 7 innings pitch sample size, but we do know from history this guy does have really good stuff. 33.3% K overall. The problem is really he's returning off the 60-day IL. He's not going to have a full leash here. And, I mean, he did make his third start of his minor league rehab on Double-A on Tuesday, tossed 5 innings. So he was right around 62 pitches in that start, so don't expect him to get much more higher than that. And for that reason, he's not really going to be viable for me today. Next on the list, we do have a viable guy in Sonny Gray taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Comes in with a 29.6% K overall, good ground ball, fly ball stuff, a 25.3% K rate against righties, and a 34.1% K rate against lefties. So we do ironically prefer to target him against left-handed heavy lineups because his K rate's just been that high against left-handed heavy lineups. And as far as the Philadelphia Phillies are concerned, you can see they are pretty blended. 2 righties at the top, 2 lefties, righty, lefty, righty, lefty. But enough lefties in there to where we can get a little bit excited about the K upside. And overall, Philadelphia has been struggling as of late, and they have been striking out quite a bit on the season. They did add in a couple low strikeout bats, guys like Ronald Torreyes in the bottom of the order that are going to limit the strikeout upside a little bit from the entirety of the lineup. But with Sonny Gray stuff, you still got to really like him. Second on the list, we got Aaron Nola, not quite as easy of a matchup taking on Cincinnati, but once again, very good K stuff with a 29.4% K overall. Good job eliminating the hard contact this year with 29% K rate against righties and a 29.8% K rate against lefties. Good stuff across the board, and you're looking at the Cincinnati lineup today. In this same game, they do only have a 3.94 implied run total. Of course, that's going to make us happy. Aaron Nola, a 143 favorite. Priced at 9.5 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they have him priced at 10K. And you can make an argument that he's the top pitcher on the slate. Last time out, only throwing 51 pitches. And I'm not exactly sure why. His start was cut short by a length rain delay. Okay, that makes sense. Rain delay, so he got pulled from the game. He had 7 Ks through 4 innings pitched. That would have been a tremendous performance if he was able to keep it going there. And look for some more of the same here, as Aaron Nola's been really, really dominant on the season. Definitely a great option today. Eduardo Rodriguez taking on the Baltimore Orioles, a team that we can definitely target from a strikeout aspect. A 29.3% K overall for Eduardo Rodriguez with a 29.1% K rate against righties and a 30.1% K rate against lefties. Really, his only issue is his pitch count oftentimes because he does get a little bit wild. He does have a bit of a walk issue against right-handed hitting, but if you can keep that down, taking on a Baltimore team that doesn't exactly have the most disciplined hitters in the world, I think that he can have a big performance here. He's priced at 8K on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they have him priced at 9.8. So on FanDuel in particular, he has a very friendly price tag. Last time out, he had 8 Ks, 2 earned runs. The time before, 10 Ks, 0 earned runs. So has been striking out a lot of hitters for sure, and has been looking pretty good. So Eduardo Rodriguez taking on Baltimore, an opponent we can definitely target here. Lucas Giolito taking on the New York Yankees. Not exactly the friendliest matchup as far as, threats in the lineup. However, they do strike out a bunch. He has a 27.9% K overall, a 14.7 swinging strike rate. That tied for the top on the slate, and it should be the top on the slate because Hernandez is small sample size. So top on the slate, a 27.7% K rate against righties and a 28.1% K rate against lefties. Does give up some hard contact against righties, but as mentioned, you're dealing with a high-risk, high-upside option here because while the New York Yankees are a very threatening lineup, they do strike out a lot, and he's a 183 favorite. The Yankees only have a 3.83 implied run total. That should help our case as far as feeling comfortable targeting him. Vegas expecting Lucas Giolito to do his thing. He's 9.8 on FanDuel. Over on DraftKings, they have him priced all the way up to 10.7. So once again, a guy that I will prefer to target on FanDuel if I'm playing on both sites. However, there's a reason he's priced all the way up on DraftKings. The guy has a bunch of upside, and he's definitely going to be a top option on the slate today. Tristan McKenzie taking on the Detroit Tigers. It seems like you could target anyone and everyone taking on the Detroit Tigers, and they're just putting on a really good performance. There's been some guys with some really low K rates that have been striking out a bunch of guys on this team, and Tristan McKenzie actually does have a pretty high K rate. Although he gives up a lot of hard contact, we're talking about a 27% K overall, 27.7% K rate against righties, and a 26.1% K rate against lefties. And, against a weak lineup, this could be the spot where Tristan McKenzie really does make a lot of sense. The Tigers have a 4.75 implied run total. I think that McKenzie hasn't been getting a lot of respect from Vegas lately due to his hard contact issues, and it makes sense. But as mentioned, there's guys that have no business getting 8 strikeouts, and they're going out there and having 8 strikeouts against this team. So I think you have to take a hard look at McKenzie today. Last few performances, he had 5 4Ks with 2 or 3 earned runs against Oakland and Toronto, much more difficult opponents. As far as his one game against Detroit this year, he had 5 Ks, 0 earned runs through 5 innings pitched, and he was somewhat on a limited pitch count at that time, only around like mid-70s. So, it's just the matchup. Detroit's been a team that you can target all season long. You got to be looking there. Speaking of matchups, Sean Manea's got the best matchup of anyone we've discussed so far, probably taking on the Texas Rangers with a 26.7% K overall, a 12.4 swing strike rate, a 23.6% K rate against righties, and a 35.8% K rate against lefties. This Texas lineup is absolutely terrible. Definitely one that we could be targeting. As far as the Vegas lines are concerned, Manea comes in as a 206 favorite. And he should have plenty of room for upside. Should definitely get the win here. Of course, we always like to get the win targeting our pitcher in our fantasy sports lineups with a 206 favorite. I believe that is the heaviest on the slate. Well, outside of Eduardo Rodriguez. Eduardo Rodriguez is a major favorite, but other than him and Eric Lauer, top guy on the slate as far as Vegas is concerned, as far as being favorited. And you got to be definitely having some interest there. Nestor Cortes taking on the Chicago White Sox. Their team has been striking out a lot. He does have some pretty good K upside. The problem is that he typically won't go that deep into ball games. We're looking at his pitch count over his last few starts. You can see right on 86 to 80 pitches. That's actually not too terrible, depending on his price tag. He's 7-1 on DraftKings. Not really sure if that's going to be, enough of a pitch count to really make me have interest there. And then as far as FanDuel is concerned, they have him priced at 6.2. So FanDuel could be interesting. At only 6.2, he could go out there and get you quite a few strikeouts in through 80 pitches. If you really need the salary to get up to bats, of course, your starting pitcher is very, very important on FanDuel. So if you're doing that, you better have some bats in place that you just think you absolutely need to maximize your upside against the field. And if you do, I wouldn't call you crazy for playing him today. So could go there. Luis Patino taking on the Minnesota Twins, another team that has lost a lot of talent without Nelson Cruz. He has a 31% K rate against righties, a 14.9% K rate against lefties. Really, really good against righties, really not so hot against lefties. So as far as the Twins' Vegas line is concerned, they have a 4.21 implied run total. When looking at Patino's pitch count over his last few starts, you can see last time out 103 pitches, the time before 100, the time before 97, the time before 98. So he's getting a very long leash, especially for being on the Tampa Bay Rays. Last time against Boston, 7 Ks. The time before against the Yankees, 8 Ks. He's 8-1 on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, they have him priced at 7.5. I think he could be a pretty solid mid-range option that could pay off for you in a big way. Of course, that big pitch count should be able to get you plenty of strikeouts against those right-handed bats. Hopefully, is the wish here. And even the lefties, you're hoping he can retire a few, even though he does really struggle against lefties. And he could be a risky, high upside option for you today. And then once we get down past him, things start to get a lot less interesting, honestly. I'm not really getting too excited to target anyone. You can make an argument for Eric Lauer because he's taking on a weak opponent in Pittsburgh, but I'm not really getting all too excited to go there. Looking at his stuff, let's see here. He's priced at 8.9 on DraftKings. He has been right around like mid-80s pitches, and that's just not going to get the job done for me. I'm not really all too interested. So with that being said, let's go ahead and transition over to bats. As always, I like to go ahead and start my sheet by Sierra. Skill interactive ERA, worst to best, is the best way of determining how good a pitcher's been so far in the year and how good they're expected to be in the future. And the worst on the slate today is going to be Charlie Barnes taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Bad ground ball, fly ball stuff, bad slugging against righties, bad slugging against lefties, really just not good across the board. And when you're looking at the Tampa Bay Rays today, they're in a great spot. As far as Charlie Burns and how deep he's going to go in this game, looking at his performances so far on the season, you can see that he's been right around like the mid-60s mark. And then they get to hand it over to this bullpen that is not good. So, I mean, you got to get excited to target the Rays here. Randy Rosarina, Nelson Cruz against the lefty, great spot. Jordan Luplow mashes lefties. There's some high risk for a pinch hit there, so just keep that in mind. Wander Franco, Austin Meadows, Manuel Margot, Brandon Lau, Mike Zunino. There's a few guys in here that do have a high risk of getting pinch hit for, most notably Jordan Luplow, Manuel Margot, and maybe Joey Wendell. But those two guys, just keep that in mind when you're targeting them. They could be pulled later in the game for a guy like a G-Man Choi, etc. But great spot for these Rays. You got to definitely have interest in the 5.79 implied run total, taking on Charlie Burns and then the Minnesota bullpen. Great spot to be targeting them. Chris Bubic taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. He's been pretty mediocre across the board. Not good at all. Ground ball, fly ball stuff's mediocre. He gives up a 454 slugging to righties and a 574 to slugging to lefties. And just underwhelming stuff overall. The only thing that's going to save him maybe is the ballpark in Kauffman Stadium. Not exactly the friendliest confines for home runs. However, with that being said, pulling up Kauffman Stadium, I always mention the outfield is huge. So it plays very friendly to pretty much everything else except for the home run ball. So the Cardinals could be putting the ball in play early and often here. Tommy Edman, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Tyler O'Neill, Yadier Molina, Paul DeJong, Harrison Bader, Edmundo Sosa, and Jose Rondon taking on the talent of Chris Bubic, who doesn't exactly have the most talent, and then the Kansas City Royals bullpen is terrible as well. So similar to the Rays, they're on the road. They get the guaranteed 9th inning at-bats. They get to take on a bad pitcher and a bad bullpen. Definitely makes sense to have some interest in the Cardinals today. And in that same game, we have J.A. Happ taking on the Kansas City Royals, who's just really, really bad against right-handed hitting. Terrible. A 387 WOBA, a 565 slugging. Every single righty that cracks the lineup is going to be viable against him. Whit Merrifield, Carlos Santana, Salvador Perez, Hunter Dozier, Michael Taylor, Emmanuel Rivera, Hanser Alberto going to have interest in every single one of those righties today. All rake lefties pretty well, and to be frank, J.A. Happ's just that bad to the point of where if you're a major league hitter that hits from the right-hand side of the plate, you're viable. Tristan McKenzie taking on Detroit. We mentioned his hard contact issues across the board. You can definitely target some Detroit bats. Just keep in mind he does have a pretty decent K rate. So, you got to be hoping they either hit the ball over the fence or else they're probably going down on strikes. But you can stack up the Detroit Tigers today with guys like Robbie Grossman, Jonathan Scope, Miguel Cabrera, Jaime Candelario, Eric Haas. Definitely going to have some interest in them. My interest is going to fade a little bit towards the bottom of the lineup, but you still got to have interest in the bottom of the lineup. Get some contrarian bats in your lineup. No issues with it at all. Drew Smyly taking on the Washington Nationals. Another guy you can definitely target with some power bats here. A 442 slugging unit to righties, a 520 slugging unit to lefties. Does not scare me whatsoever. As far as the Washington Nationals lineup and how they're designed to hit left-handed pitching, pretty decent overall. Not exactly the most exciting, but they got Rick Robles in there, Escobar, Josh Bell, Carter Kieboom. Honestly, it's a lineup that's really not designed to hit left-handed pitching that well, I will say. So that's going to limit my interest in their stack a little bit. But if you can target Drew Smyly if you'd like, I'm not getting too excited about it. Keegan Aiken taking on the Boston Red Sox. They're going to be one of the best offenses on the slate. Very bad ground ball, fly ball stuff. He gives up a 528 slugging to righties, a 567 slugging to lefties. The only thing he's got really going for him is the strikeout rate against left-handed hitting, but overall he's just terrible. Red Sox have been getting hot this series. The Baltimore Orioles pitching is just terrible. They're going to continue to be worn down because of the big numbers the Red Sox have been putting up. You can expect for the Orioles to be going to guys that are really, really bad out of the bullpen if the Red Sox can get to Aiken early. And they have some guys that just absolutely match left-handed pitching. Enrique Hernandez, Xander Bogaerts, JD Martinez, Hunter Renfroe, Christian Vasquez, Bobby Dalbec has been very hot. You can have interest in all of them, and then you can throw the lefties in. Hopefully they get some lower ownership. You get them at a contrarian rate. They can still slug off the lefty, Alex Verdugo, Rafael Devers, Kyle Schwarber. And then especially when they get Aiken out of the game, they're probably going to get a chance to go against that bullpen. 78 degrees with 8 mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right center. Going to be a great hitting environment for the Red Sox. You're going to have interest in them. Well, Espino taking on the Atlanta Braves. He's really not been that great overall. A 496 slugging get up to righties, a 393 slugging get up to lefties. He has been a lot better against lefties than righties, so just keep that in mind. So the righties in particular for the Braves, we're going to have a lot of interest in guys like Jorge Soler, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, Adam Duvall. But then I'm not afraid to target the lefties either. If they can get Espino out of this game early, the Nationals bullpen does not scare us. It's a very friendly hitting environment. The Braves are on the road in Washington. Freddie Freeman, Jock Peterson, Steven Vogt all have power. Ozzie Albies at the top of the order, a switch hitter, no matter what they go to the bullpen. So the Braves going to make a lot of sense. Just keep in mind it's a Sunday slate, so these lineups sometimes can be a little bit wonky. And honestly, that can determine my stack. Sometimes if a team rolls out a not-so-hot lineup, and another team rolls out more of a normal lineup, that makes me go to them because we have plenty of options here as we discuss along the slate. Alec Mills taking on the Miami Marlins. He has really good ground ball, fly ball stuff, so I'm just not getting all that interested to target him. And the Miami Marlins bullpen. The Miami Marlins lineup kind of stinks. Luis Patino taking on Minnesota. We already mentioned really you can just target the lefties there. If you do want to go to the Minnesota lefties, I wouldn't blame you. I think you could play Patino in tournaments, but Max Kepler, Jorge Polanco, Luis Arias, Trevor Lenark, all going to be in great spots. Whatever lefty cracks the lineup, he's pretty bad against lefties. Really, really bad for the most part, except for hard contact. And then once we get past them, things just start to get not so interesting pretty quick here. I mean, we definitely do have some spots that I could highlight for contrarian targets, I guess you could say. Nestor Cortez taking on the Chicago White Sox has actually been worse against lefties than righties. So if there's any lefties that crack that lineup lefty on lefty, you could maybe get them low-owned and they could rake off him. Honestly, I don't think there's going to be, so that's kind of a scratch. We have Lucas Giolito taking on the New York Yankees. He does give up a lot of hard contact against righties, so maybe you could play some of these power righties on the Yankees. Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Luke Voit. Chances are they're either going to strike out or get into one here, so they're going to be high-risk, high-upside options in tournaments. Same rule is going to apply to Sonny Gray and the Philadelphia Phillies. The right-handed bats can get to him. And then once we get past them, it's really just Eduardo Rodriguez and Austin Nola against lefties. Austin Nola against lefties has been a thing as well. If you want to target some Cincinnati Reds lefties, you should get them very low-owned. And maybe they can get into a few. You got Jesse Winker, Joey Votto, Mike Moustakas, Tyler Naquin, all pretty talented bats. Tucker Barnhart, you can get them very low-owned if you're looking to get really contrarian. And then lastly, Eduardo Rodriguez with a 429 slugging it up to righties, a 517 slugging it up to lefties. If you want to target some Baltimore Orioles bats in that game, you can definitely do so. Austin Hayes, Trey Mancini, Anthony Santander, Pedro Severino, Maikel Franco, Ryan McKenna, Jorge Mateo, and Richie Martin. Better options to target against left-handed pitching. And with that being said, let's go to start giving you guys my home run call of the day. And my home run call of the day today is going to be Randy Arozarena taking on Charlie Barnes. We mentioned his hard contact across the board really, really bad with a 511 slugging it up to righties in particular, a 48.8% hard contact rate, a 381 WOBA. Ground ball fly ball stuff is not good and only strikes out those righties at about 12% of the time. We don't have to worry about the strikeout. And when looking at what he goes to, very, very reliant on the sinker. That's about a 50% of his repertoire. And Randy Arozarena absolutely crushes that pitch. A 647 ISO with a 730 WOBA, 85.71% hard contact rate. And if you can't get the Barnes, he's expected to hit in the leadoff spot and take on this terrible Minnesota Twins bullpen. Tons of upside, tons of opportunity for the lineup to be turned over and Randy Arozarena to get a bunch of crack at going deep. Love this spot for him. Multiple home run upside. Get him in your lineups because he is my home run call of the day. So there you have it, guys. Randy Arozarena. Get him in your lineups. And that is all from me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. That would be greatly appreciated. That way you don't miss any future content that I upload. Wish you guys all the best of luck today, and we will see you in the next one.